There exist multiple versions of the creation myth known to the ancient Egyptians, depending on geographic region, cult center, and time. The Heliopolitan creation myth is one that is most relevant to Sekhmet, and was once popular in the area around modern-day Cairo. Most deities within the Heliopolitan pantheon have a traditional mother-father parentage, aside from the creator himself and his first twin offspring. Sekhmet's origins are less a story of birth and more a story of becoming. We therefore need to begin with the origins of her sister, Tefnut. Consistent with many other creation myths, in the beginning there was nothing, and then there was something. To the Egyptians, this nothing was a dark, watery expanse known as the Nun. For a reason beyond the comprehension of humankind, the creator Netjeret emerged from this space and chose to do what creators do best, and create. According to the Heliopolitan creation myth, this creator was Atum-Ra, who was the father and mother of all things. The Egyptian word for hand was the feminine noun Deret, which could be personified by the sensual Netjeret Huthor. This is significant, for it explained how the male creator was able to create life from the union with his hand. Indeed, PT 527 records how in an act of self-pleasure, Atum-Ra produced the primordial twins, Shu and Tefnut. An alternative explanation occurs later in the PT, claiming that the pair were born from the creator's mouth, and were subsequently spat out. Whatever the method, the first divine siblings were born from the creator's body as the one who developed into three. Thus, Atum-Ra brought the primordial elements of air and moisture into being. Shu and Tefnut could be depicted as a pair of twin lions who sat back to back looking out towards each horizon, with the sun Netjeret safe between them. In this form, each one looked out upon the rising and settling sun, and represented the concept of time, of yesterday and tomorrow. The combination of air and moisture under the heat of the sun led to the birth of the next generation of deities, the earth Netjeret and the sky Netjeret Nut. As the Netjeret of air and the breath of life, Shu took his place separating the earth and sky so that life could grow in the space between them. From their union sprung Wesir, Sutek, Aset, and Nebet Hut, Greek Osiris, Seth, Isis, and Nethys, completing the group of deities known as the Heliopolitan Ennead. Heru is sometimes included in this group, either as a sibling or as a child of Wesir and Aset. Finally, Tefnut took her place as the protective eye of her father, as the embodiment of the sun, shining light upon creation so that the creator could see all things. Whilst the eye is always the daughter of the solar creator, one may find that his name varies from Atum, Ra, Khepri, Ptah, and many other synchronized forms. However, the eye herself was referred to as the Eye of Ra, sometimes the Eye of Heru, to emphasize her solar role. For consistency's sake, we will now refer to the creator in the following myths as Ra. There exist two primary myths relating to the daughter, Eye of Ra, which both follow a similar structure. For this reason, it may be easy to get the two confused. However, they should be viewed as two distinct stories. It makes most sense to view the myth of the wandering / distant goddess as taking place first. However, others, such as Nikki Scully, read them the opposite way round. Egyptian mythology is rarely recorded in a linear narrative, and is instead found across several sources. For this reason, there are many versions that exist with slight variations, which may cause readers uncertainty, though all versions can be considered equally correct. The myth of the Eye of the Sun is also known as the myth of the wandering / distant goddess, and is recorded upon the walls of over 20 Ptolemaic temples. The Ptolemaic period can be dated between 332 to 30 BCE. Though this is a relative late period of Egyptian mythology, snippets of the myth can also be found much earlier. Conveniently for us, this fragmented myth was pieced together in the early 20th century by Hermann Juncker, providing us with a coherent narrative. According to this compilation, the myth took place during a time when the creator still lived upon the earth as ruler of Egypt, with his eye, Tefnut, by his side. One day, for unspecified reasons, Tefnut decided to leave her father and wandered south to Nubia, modern-day Sudan. Ra missed his daughter's company almost as much as he feared the loss of protection conferred by her fiery gaze. In some versions, the risk of being without her protection was too great, leading Ra to create a replacement eye in Tefnut's absence. A spell from the earlier Middle Kingdom coffin texts, Hereafter CT, records that her brother Shu had left with her, provoking their father to come looking for them. Atum once sent his sole eye, seeking me and my sister, Tefnut. Perhaps it was Tefnut's indignance that convinced her to return, for upon her arrival, she expressed her fury at being replaced. Some sources state that humanity was born from her tears. This distress was not long lasting, however, as seeking to quickly appease her, Ra placed Tefnut proudly upon his forehead as the first Uriah serpent. Tefnut's return was celebrated with festivities, where she bathed in the sacred waters of Philae and transformed from a lioness into a beautiful woman. According to Barbara Richter, these temple texts acted as an outline for a real festival which took place in celebration of Netjeret's mythic return. Although Sekhmet has not yet been mentioned by name, each of the eyes of Ra could be interpreted as aspects of one another. Not only are Tefnut and Sekhmet both lioness daughters of Ra, but their key myths shared a greatly similar pattern. The Book of the Heavenly Cow is a composition first recorded in several New Kingdom royal tombs, including those belonging to Tutankhamun, Seti I, and Ramesses II. It is within this text that the myth of the Heavenly Cow is recounted, and unlike the scattered references of the myth previously mentioned, this story appears as a coherent narrative. Though recorded in the New Kingdom, the origins of this myth, like the Wandering Eye, may date to the earlier Middle Kingdom. The rather pleasant sounding title may mislead readers as to the nature of its content. Instead, a popular alternative name, The Destruction of Mankind, is more indicative of its theme. The myth takes place ahead of time from that of the Wandering Eye, when Ra has been ruling over creation for so long that his superior age has started to show. By this point, humankind had now been created, either from the tears of the Eye of Ra or from the tears shed upon her return. Noting the creator's old age, and perhaps an inferred vulnerability, humanity had begun to turn against him, much to Ra's dismay. The fact that Ra himself was afraid of human rebellion illustrates how the Egyptians viewed the delicate balance of the universe. It was vital for the king, and the priests on his behalf, to uphold cosmic order in the temples every day and night to ensure the sun's rebirth each dawn. These enemies of Ra were therefore agents of chaos, who posed a very real threat to the creator and his creations. Moved to take serious action against this, Ra heeded his council's advice to dispatch his eye to punish mankind for their treachery. Send out your eye, that it may smite them for you, those who have conspired so wickedly. May it descend in the form of Hathor. Huthor was a name for another eye of Ra, who had been present from the beginning, as the hand of Atum-Ra during the creation. She wasted no time in seeing her father's will enacted, and finding delight in this righteous vengeance, she exclaims, "I have overpowered mankind, and it was agreeable to my heart." And so, Sekhmet came into being. This translation could equally say, "and so power came into being," for the name Sekhmet literally means power. Though the act of justified divine retribution, Huthor manifests her incarnate power and becomes the powerful one. This myth therefore explains how Sekhmet came into being, and how her first act upon this earth was feasting upon the enemies of Ra. Not only did Hathor Sekhmet wreak vengeance upon the evildoers, but she smote humankind indiscriminately. The myth continues, describing how, overcome with a taste for consuming human blood, nothing could stop her. Ra knew he would have to intervene if he was to prevent the entire annihilation of humanity between Sekhmet's jaws. The Netjeret could not be tamed, nor be reasoned with. Ra had only one option. He would need to trick her into relenting, and so ordered for the production of a substance made from red ochre and beer mash that would have been an appearance and consistency just like human blood. 7,000 jars of this thick scarlet liquid were poured upon the land, flooding the fields of Egypt. This was much to Sekhmet's delight, as she discovered it the following day. The goddess set out in the morning, and so she found these fields inundated. Her face became delighted thereat, so she proceeded to drink, and it was just fine in her estimation. She returned so drunk that she had been unable to recognize mankind. Ra was so relieved when she stumbled home to the delta, intoxicated from red beer, that he declared the introduction of an annual festival of drunkenness in her honor. This indicates that upon her appeasement, the eye resumed her form as the beautiful Hathor. This return is a mirror image to the conclusion of the Wandering Eye, where Tefnut returned beautiful and amiable. To the ancient Egyptians, there was no problem with viewing Sekhmet, Tefnut and Hathor as both individual Netjeret and emancipations of one another simultaneously. The story moves on as Ra shares a somewhat sad reflection that though he has regained humankind's respect through Sekhmet's intervention, it was achieved through the distribution of pain. This somber tone moves him to the decision to remove himself from the company of the earth-dwelling Netjeret and humans to return to the heavens. With the Eye of Ra no longer slaying humans indiscriminately, and perhaps saddened that their creator wished to be apart from them, the supporters of Ra took up arms against his remaining enemies on Earth. Though they intended to fight for righteousness and order, this introduced murder into the world of humans. The myth ends with the sky, Netjeret Nut, transforming into a gigantic cow, allowing Ra to climb upon her back and be lifted towards the heavens, held up by Shu and the infinite stars. Hence the overarching title, The Myth of the Heavenly Cow. Based on this title, the original intention appears to focus on why Ra left the earth and came to reside in the sky, rather than on the destruction of mankind. Beyond a mythological explanation, Nadine Gilhouse suggests two other functions for this myth. The first is its ritual function, indicated by the addition of rubrics in the text that outline ritual instructions to ensure the deceased king's ascension to the heavens, in imitation of Ra. The second use for the myth is as an explanation of the seasons, which would make sense, considering how the sun affects Earth's agricultural cycles. In the heat of summer, Egypt was parched, its crops fully harvested, and the agricultural plain thirsty for the greatly anticipated flood around July or August. This was understood to be the consequence of the fiery Eye of Ra burning down upon the earth. Gilhouse suggests that the ochre beer mixture that mythically flooded the land was a reference to the red silt that arrives with the inundation. Alternatively, this could be the red earth that was made visible from the receding waters prior to the flood. Following the flood of the red waters, the intensity of the sun would decrease over the months ahead, suggestive of the eye's appeasement after her blood feast. Betsy Bryan has suggested that lions moved away from the valley and, representing the wandering eye, had to be encouraged to return, bringing the flood waters with them. The myth of the wandering eye introduces the theme of the Eye of Ra, leaving the creator vulnerable, and returning to much jubilation. This mythic pattern is repeated in the myth of the destruction of mankind, where this time Ra calls upon his eye to protect him during a crisis. The eye does so with so much enthusiasm that Ra needs to pry her away from her prey by intoxicating her. She is welcomed home with great relief and celebration once again. Things are different the second time around, however. Though the myth suggests that Tefnut also wreaked havoc on her travels. A lioness needs to hunt after all. She is not brimming with devastating anger. When Hathor leaves to defend Ra, her fury is so great that she unleashes incarnate power itself, bringing Sekhmet into being. The idea that Sekhmet can be both an individual Netjeret and a syncretized form of Hathor and other Netjeret may either be difficult to comprehend or relatively straightforward. Every individual pagan today will adhere to their own theistic framework, according to tradition or personal genosis. Regardless of how one views this, Egyptian mythology makes it clear that Sekhmet came into being when Hathor manifested true rage within herself. This could be viewed in two ways. For example, Sekhmet may have been born out of Hathor's rage and into an independent Netjeret. Alternatively, Hathor herself may have transformed into a vengeful aspect with the title Sekhmet, or the Powerful One. It would not be at all surprising if the idea of a Netjeret slaughtering humankind and relishing in the taste of blood is an unappealing concept for some people today. However, it is important for one to keep in mind the context of these actions. Why did Ra send his eye to punish humanity in the first place? Why was she so furious? And who suffered from her wrath? This all came about because the human enemies of Ra sought to destroy created life and the balance of the Ma'at. Though this may sound like an ambitious task for mere humans, it's not as incredulous as it may appear at first. In many ways, humankind are tiny creatures within a vast universe, with little to say in the machinations of the planets, the rising and the setting of the sun. We cannot escape the inevitability of death, and many of us still fall prey to diseases and illness. However, to say that we are insignificant upon this earth is misguided. All creatures leave their destructive impact, and the cumulative human impact is a considerable one. With that said, there are many discussions that cast all of humanity in the role of parasites upon the earth. We would like to contradict this with an acknowledgement that certain societies are more complicit in environmental destruction than others, and that one's own is not representative of all others. We do not believe anyone would make such accusations towards many indigenous peoples, for example, and so sweeping accusations may cause harm in their generalization. Nevertheless, considerable damage to the environment, animals, and fellow humans is being done by many societies today. This fact serves as a poignant and sobering illustration of how widespread human activity can eat away at creation and life. Hathor sought to protect her father and creation, and to do so she unleashed her power upon the world. We can read this myth as nature's attempt to maintain the balance of life, which at times comes at a harsh, painful cost. Natural disasters are an example of this, and though not born from divine malice, innocent lives are claimed in their wake. This perspective is echoed by Anki, a woman who served as Sekhmet's priestess in the Nevada desert. Ki offers a refreshing acknowledgement of reconsidering Sekhmet's myth through a consciously 21st century lens, with her retelling of Sekhmet's anger depicted towards people who use without thought and waste the gifts of the land. For many modern devotees of Sekhmet, her righteous rage is valued and considered to be necessary. Many of us, especially women, have been taught to hide their anger and suppress their feelings. Many of us have been taught to be quiet, compliant, and to people please those in positions of power. Women of colour have been especially criticised for their anger, and are frequently tone policed. This is how we maintain hierarchies and power over systems. How emancipating it must then feel to meet a Netjeret such as Sekhmet, who does not hold back, who openly expresses how she feels, and does not compromise her authenticity for the sake of pleasing others. As Tefnut, she owns her own will and explores undiscovered places. As Hathor, and then Sekhmet, she adheres to her father's request to punish humanity, yet does so willfully and to a greater extent than Ra had anticipated. In her ability to unleash disease and other unfavourable conditions, Sekhmet is not there to please anyone. However, This is not a demonstration of selfish disregard, for Sekhmet operates within the balance of Mahat. She upholds integrity, willfulness, and is entitled to her anger. It is unsurprising that the revival of goddess spirituality and contemporary paganism came at a time of Western counterculturalism, protesting against our damaging environmental impact, against sexist oppression, racial discrimination, advocating LGBT+ rights, and so on. We have been taught to be afraid of anger, assuming that it is always related to violence, danger, and unsavory people. However, it was anger which gave birth to the Stonewall riots. It was anger that has fronted women's marches. It is anger that leads the Black Lives Matter protests. If we don't get angry, we remain complicit in harmful systems. If we don't get angry, we allow the enemies of Ra to run the show, stamping over creation. Releasing our anger does not have to be destructive, though it can be. Today's international landscape remains an area of challenging the status quo and fighting against inequality. Many remain angry, including those who do not want to lose their privileged place benefiting from oppressive and exploitative systems, after all. Why would they want these systems to fall if they benefit from them? We can transform this into something creative, replacing the old, tired, and harmful systems with something new, vital, and supportive. At other times, however, we need to actively dismantle and take down. Sekhmet is, therefore, the perfect Netjeret, archetype, symbol, however you see her, to bring forward transformative anger. We can all become Sekhmet. If you'd like to learn far more about Sekhmet, then please take a look at our book, Sekhmet, written by Olivia Church, who also provided all the words and information for this video. Thank you so much for watching. A special thanks to our members for their continued support. Subscribe for weekly content, and we'll see you next time.